It's not your journey to take. It's not your journey to take. It's not your journey to take. Let's learn. Let's learn.
Hello, good evening, and welcome. Welcome to Today Prioritize Me. We have a special guest that we've been having all month. We are talking about prioritizing ourselves. And this week's topic is barriers or boundaries. So when we talk about it today, we're going to talk about barriers or boundaries. So before we get started, my name is Keisha Mason Campbell. I am the author of Not Your Journey to Take. I'm also your host of the Prioritize Me events and the Prioritize Me workshops. I'm also a life coach, and I'm also the author of the Not Your Journey to Take book and workbook. They kind of go one and the same to kind of help you out. So anyway, we're going to bring to the stage Miss April.
Hello.
Hello, Miss April. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I am wonderful. How has your week been?
Oh, busy. Oh, so busy.
So, have you been prioritizing yourself this week?
Uh, Not particularly, but I got a lot going on, so sometimes I got to get pushed through some stuff.
Okay. That's always listen. That's always a go-to. You know, we have so much going on, and we just have to figure out how to just get through it. Right? Just get to it and get through it.
Yeah. Um, Acknowledging it. So I recognize it, so I can say, okay, I know I got to kind of just push through, get through this. It's gonna be all right.
Yes. Okay. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. So today our topic is boundaries or barriers. When you hear
Mm,
that, what do you think about when you hear boundaries or barriers? We're just gonna jump right into it.
Um, is what am I doing blocking my blessing, or is it creating peace of mind?
Okay. So when you think about when we say boundaries or barriers, and you were saying when you think about your peace of mind, when you think about your peace of mind, is that a boundary or a barrier? I mean, because it could be one and the same depending on the situation that's happening.
Um, True, it could be. Um, Understanding, it always goes back to understanding and communicating with yourself. Um, how much you can take, what you can deal with, what you can't deal with, and is it time to readjust what you can deal with?
Okay. Okay. So when we talk about readjusting, then that's a big one. When we say readjust what we can deal with, you think about all the things that's happening. Like, for example, in the world today, it doesn't feel like it touches us directly, right? That's what we want to think in our minds. But then when you think about everything that's happening, that actually it really does touch us directly, right? And then when we see it, do we see that as like a boundary or a barrier? For me, when I think about all the things that's happening today, like this administration, people, just feeling not so good about things. Um, I think that is a barrier that hinders people from being able to get to the next step or the next level, to be able to set a boundary and allow us to like coexist in a good space and in a good place without feeling like, oh my gosh, like you gotta fuss, you gotta fight, you gotta scramble to try to set a boundary, but you're fighting to keep these barriers just in the world. So then when we think about our personal lives of all the things that we have going on, it's like, how do I find a place where I can set that boundary and not create a barrier? Because they can be one and the same, they can be confusing, they can also create separation, right?
Right.
I know that was loaded.
No, I think, like, for an example, people say, oh, I don't talk about politics. I don't talk about politics. That's where I draw the line. I don't talk about that because people get so heated and da da da. Okay, that right there is a barrier because I feel like it's a barrier just because to a certain extent. Anyway, um, you're unable to people when you don't talk about it, people don't go deeper. People don't understand the logic, and then we have the situation where people just vote in any kind of way because you hang around a bunch of people who I don't talk politics. I don't talk politics. So you get these snippets and misinformation and stuff, and then you end up going against your own benefit because your barrier, your boundary was I don't talk about politics and stuff. So you never get any information, any, solid opinion, solid thoughts and stuff. You just get these snippets. And then we have the administration we got now because people people in their boundaries and barriers.
Right. And I think, or do you think it's the boundary or barrier, or they just didn't have any? Because when you think about the qualifications of who should be sitting in our White House, because that is typically the people's house, right? You think about who should be sitting in that house and you think about the qualifications that one should have. Well, you had a qualified woman who ideally was overqualified and was the most qualified candidate ever as far as qualifications come. But then you have a person who is a convicted felon, who allegedly is a pedophile, who has been convicted of fraud, who is also a slumlord along with his father. So I'm thinking some people don't have a boundary or a barrier.
I think that some people use self interest,
Mhm.
peace of mind as their boundary of, well, I'm gonna see what served me. I'm gonna see about me, and they got under the guise of, let this works better for me. Well, she ain't talking about me, or she not understanding me.
Right.
Versus the that boundary creates a barrier of united growth.
I agree. I agree. But how do we grow? How do we make that happen? How do we grow? How do we get people in a place, in a space where we can grow, where it's okay to set a boundary, it's okay to set some standards, it's okay to respect others and their opinions, but also know that when you make decisions, you're not just making decisions for you, you're making decisions for years to come. You're making decisions for your children, for your children's children, for your nieces, for your nephews, for your family going forward. So when you make these decisions, yes, they're making changes and policies now, but how do you think that's going to impact them later on? Like, you're not doing that, but you have some people who make decisions for the right now. Like, this is what we're doing, and you're like, wait a minute, pause. We should be making decisions for our own bodies. We should, by the Constitution, freedom of speech is the First Amendment, right? So we should be able to have the opportunity to speak whether we agree or disagree.
I feel like the concept of self interest
Mm,
sometimes, and under the guise of, prioritizing myself and what I need, creates these boundaries that
yes.
in turn are actually, communal barriers.
Okay.
So while we want to you do the best interest of self,
Hmm.
And that's how, people vote, that's how people act, that's how people, talk or whatever. For something as salacious as politics,
Yeah.
sometimes you have to look for the greater, the future. Otherwise, that boundary of let me, focus on what's beneficial to myself, because
Right.
what's beneficial to myself may not be beneficial to my child, my family in that same situation. So, what is um, the greater overall good in this situation? And people people can sometimes just feel like my boundary is to focus on just me and
Mm-hmm.
not focus on anything outside of that. And that creates this barrier because you're not going to look beyond your boundary. And if your boundary is the only stopping point and you're not willing to get information, communicate, understand, um, then it is no longer a boundary, it's a barrier to growth. You are not going to grow and extend that boundary.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's work. And people don't want to work for the greater good. Everybody is me, 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 I. It's, bless you. It's all about, the individual and not about the people. And I think that's what current day is what we're missing, um, when it comes to a lot, right? I think that's what we're missing today is the camaraderie, the getting together and making sure things are happening. I think that we're missing that. We're absolutely missing that.
Yeah, but it falls apart under the guise of out for self and putting me first.
Yeah,
You know, that is a big topic that we discussed that you focus on, but there are ways to go about it.
absolutely.
Uh,
So what
just
I what
as
I teach is, although I teach you to prioritize yourself and put yourself first, I teach you to do that so that you can fill your cup and you can pay it forward and help others. So that way you can give out of love and kindness. You can show up for others out of love and kindness. So although you're prioritizing yourself, you're making sure that your cup is full. Because as long as your cup is full, then you can always pay it forward. You can always help somebody else. When your cup isn't full, it's a strain and it's not healthy.
right, just as I said earlier, this week, uh, today, this I'm not able to put me first right now because I got to just push through because I got a lot going on. And sometimes people don't focus on that push through because they stuck on the me part, and that's how that boundary becomes a barrier.
Absolutely. And so when somebody make the boundary become a barrier, and for anybody who's out here listening and who's battling boundaries and barriers and not knowing which one is the best one and not knowing which one or what season you're in right now, for anyone who is battling that and they have allowed the boundary to become a barrier, that's absolutely what we don't teach here. Having barriers is like having a wall up. And when you have a wall up, you keep people out and you keep yourself in, right? Or vice versa. You keep yourself in and you keep people out. And you can't live in a space and in a place by yourself. You're not supposed to. We're all supposed to coexist in this space and in this place where we are looking out for each other, where we helping each other, love thyself as I love thyself, right? Ideal is what we should be doing. When you create this, turn your boundary into a barrier, this wall goes up and it makes it difficult for you to show up for yourself and show up for others because now you got this barrier and you don't know how to show up, right? You don't know how to do those things because now it's almost like, what do I do? Because I need to focus on me. I need to put me first. I need to make sure that I'm good. I need to make sure that I'm doing all the things for me. Me. I. Not us, we, ours, they, them, all of us. All the things that's inclusive. So we're not excluding anybody. But when we are doing the prioritizing ourselves and we're filling our cup, you're filling your cup to give you the opportunity to be able to show up for others out of love and kindness, and not out of, obligation, hatred, and feeling like I just got to show up for you. Because if I'm showing up for you like that, Miss April, you're going to feel that. You're going to be like, she really don't want to do this. Now, you may say, you know what, I'm good, and just say, no, thank you. Or you may just go ahead and take it and just may not ask me again. And that's not fine. That's not cool.
Right. So I think of it as building a house. Building a house. You're going to put up walls. This room is connected to the next room. That's connected to the next room. Drywall. If I decide I can only focus and have peace of mind in this one room, cool. That is your boundary right there. That one room. That's where you're living at. However, in time, you can dealt with yourself, dealt with your mental, all of that. But you want to grow. It's time to grow. You can then break down that drywall. And now you got 2 rooms connected. That's growth. You now have a new boundary because that middle wall is gone. The further one is the boundary. Now, what comes into play is when you decide, instead of drywall, I'm putting up brick in the middle of the house.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
We're breaking that down. There's no room for growth. There's no room for change because that's a brick wall, not a drywall. You're not breaking that down. So that is the difference of a barrier versus a boundary. That drywall is your boundary for now. It's movable. You still got your outside foundation. But that inside boundary is movable. You can grow with it. You can redesign this house. But if you put a brick wall up there, ain't no windows, ain't no see-through, ain't no changing, ain't no pushing. That's a barrier. You can't change. You can't grow.
Nope.
Inside that cinder block.
That's right. And I'm wondering if people even know what a cinder block is, because that's bigger than a brick. It's heavier than a brick, and nothing is getting through that cinder block. That's one of those pieces of material that if you build a structure with it, you have to blow it up to break it down. You can't just, break it down because taking it down brick by brick. Cinder block, that is huge. Like, it's big and it's thick. And so if you building your foundation or setting up your barriers with that cinder block, nothing is getting in. Nothing will get through. You will be alone. When you need to have camaraderie and you need people, that is necessary just to be able to coexist. And I think when we think about boundaries and barriers, that's a problem. You need boundaries because you need to protect your peace and make sure you're good. You need to always replenish your cup so that you can show up for others. But the barrier will take all of that away.
Yeah, because it not only blocks you in, blocks other people out, it blocks you in from everything. And
absolutely.
You go from, let me get this peace of mind, to this, everybody see this wall. Everybody sees that you are not approachable. You are not anything. And so it creates this atmosphere of, now don't nobody want to deal with me.
Yeah.
No, because you put up cinder block versus drywall.
Yeah.
Can't nobody talk through that.
You can't. You cannot talk through that. That is such a true statement. I don't know if anybody has ever been in a place where you've had drywall, brick, and cinder block, and you try to talk to somebody through it. Like the drywall, you can hear the entire conversation. A brick wall, you could probably hit or miss and hear some. A cinder block, you're hearing absolutely nothing. If you're saying, save me, I can't even relate because I can't even hear you. I can't even understand you through the cinder block. But with the drywall, like you said, that's movable. It is a movable piece of material. So if the drywall is there and you're saying, help me, I can hear you. And guess what? I can help you. Right. And I think when we talk about boundaries and barriers, I would love for people to know what the differences are between each. I would love for them as an individual to grasp where they are when it comes to a boundary and a barrier so they can make a decision on which one they're dealing with. And if you have the barrier, how can we help you turn that into a boundary? If you got the boundary, how can we help you to um, replenish your cup so that your boundary is there and you can pay it forward and give to others out of love and kindness?
Communication and the desire to grow.
I'm gonna put that in the chat. Love it.
Because without communication with self, without communication with the step beyond the boundary, you're not going to grow beyond that boundary. And that's how it then becomes a barrier. If you're not growing and evolving, then you're sitting in the same spot and letting, the grass and the weeds and stuff just grow around you till you can't see no more. But communicating, um, understanding, understanding why you place that boundary,
Mm-hmm.
what it is that boundary, and then when and how you're prepared to peek around that boundary, step outside of that boundary, grow that boundary. But if you're not willing to communicate with yourself, communicate with others, and just understand the knowledge that comes with the boundary, then you are not building a boundary, you're building a barrier.
That part. So we have been on for a little bit. So I just want to everybody that's joining now that didn't join in the beginning. I'm Keisha Mason Campbell. I am the host of the Prioritize Me workshop, the Prioritize Me event, and also this Prioritize Me podcast. We have a midweek sip and chat that we do every week, and our special guest for the entire month of August is Miss April, and we're talking all about boundaries and barriers. So in week 1, we talked about identifying your healthy boundaries. And in week 2, we talked about creating a healthy boundary. In week 3, we talked about maintaining healthy boundaries. And this is week 4, and we're talking about boundaries or barriers. And Miss April has given us some great examples. She's given us some gems left and right that she's dropping, talking about boundaries and barriers, right? The barriers is almost protecting you from everything else, but also is pushing everything else out. Boundary allows you to have things that go in and out. And so the great example that Miss April gave is a cinder block. Barrier is like a cinder block, and your boundary is like drywall. Drywall can be taken down, put back up, taken down, put back up with little to no effort. Whereas a cinder block takes lots and lots and lots of effort to be able to take it down, right? Cinder blocks is really heavy. It's a big piece of material that's way larger than a brick, and it's heavier, right? And to get rid of a cinder block, it takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of time. And so that's how Miss April was describing barriers is like a cinder block, and boundaries is like a piece of drywall that's movable, that you can move around often. So as we're like what, about 25-30 minutes in, and I just wanted to just recap a little bit. So for those persons that's joining a little bit late, we'll know what the topic is and what it is that we're talking about. So they decide to chime in or decide to send us a message in the chat, or if they decide to send us a message later on, they'll know exactly what we're talking about. So this week, which is week 4, can you believe it, April? We have done a whole month of midweek
Yeah,
chats,
I hope
teaching you
that
how to
I
prioritize
hope
yourself.
that we're getting something from it.
Right. And and I have noticed that people, if they can't log on, because it is kind of late, school is starting. So parents
Mhm.
are unfortunately can't really log on during the segment. However, I've seen where a lot of people are watching like the replays, and things like that. So that's always welcome. That's always awesome. And anybody watching the week replay, welcome, welcome, welcome. And thank you for watching the replay. We appreciate that. And if you want to put in any comments, any suggestions, or anything that you kind of want to address when we talk about boundaries and barriers, please feel free. So, Miss April, so we've talked about the administration and what's going on with that, but let's bring it back to you so we can make it more personable.
Okay.
Yeah. I know you like Keisha every week. You put me on the spot. So, if you don't mind, if it's not being evasive, is there something specifically that is happening now or has happened recently where you had to determine, am I going to give this a barrier because I can't do it, or if I'm just going to give it a boundary because I can't do it today?
I have to think about that one because with growth, I kind of have just learned to say no.
Yes, because
I'm
no is a
just
complete sentence.
yeah. So I really just I can't think of an example off the top of my head because I'm very comfortable saying, yeah, I'm just not gonna do that. Just no. I can't help you. Um in situations, like um with work I'm taking on, I not taking on, but I'm accepting a lot of extra things this week just because I'm a team player. It's out, even though it's outside of my scope of work, it's like it's for the greater good. My boundary is usually never to take on this extra, but I looked beyond myself and just said, okay, I'm gonna accept this for this time because I know the start and the end date of it versus this being a permanent situation.
Listen, that is so key. That is so key. So we'll be specific. When you are taking on a responsibility or a role, assisting anybody, doing anything for anybody, or what have you, I believe in always having a start and an end. It should never be indefinite. Been there, done that, and it never ends well. Never ends well. You need a beginning and an end, because as long
Right.
as you don't have a boundary, right? You have no boundary, you have no barrier, you have nothing. It's a blank slate for somebody to come in and just ask all the things of you, and you have not one leg to stand on.
Right.
That is not healthy, and that is not awesome. Okay, it's not awesome at all. And being able to have a start and an end allows you the space, the place, the mindset, and the peace to say, okay, I can do this for a little while because I'm a team player. I'm gonna do this for a little while because it's only gonna last a little while, right? It's not taken away from anything right now. I can afford this time to be able to show up for others, right? That's asking things of me that I wouldn't normally do, or that I'm not comfortable with, or that's not in my purview. But I show up anyway because I know it's not gonna last. And
Right.
people want things from people. The best way to get it is to have a beginning and an end.
Right. When I go to work, I know what my boundaries are, what I'm gonna accept, what I'm not gonna accept. And I feel like saying in this situation, not in all situations, because maybe no. But in this situation, um, I can say, let me move past my boundaries. I feel like had I said no in this situation, I
Mhm.
would have been utilizing a barrier versus a boundary.
Okay. And see, and finding
because
the balance is awesome of which is which
right
and when to use.
because there's no outside of my boundary that I've created for myself. There's no reason for me to say, okay, I'm not going to participate as a team.
Right. And
I'm
it's
not going
okay
to
to show up.
interact with them. Right. So I feel like that would have been a barrier for me in the workplace and everything else. It wasn't like this was detrimental to me. I had a start and end date and I know what's going on. So let me step outside this boundary, communicate, start and date, what I'm going to do and what you're asking me, and push that envelope. However, I know that I still have that boundary. So the next go round,
Yeah.
if I'm still comfortable, I'll accept. But if I'm not, I've communicated that I don't usually do this. I'm going to accept this, but I'm more comfortable communicating that versus before I would just take on everything. And now I take on what I decide I'm going to take on versus saying I shut down everything, not going to be a team player, I'm not going to go outside of my boundaries because then that would not be growth, that would not be understanding, that wouldn't be anything besides a barrier to create more issues and stress for unnecessary reasons.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I think about boundaries and barriers, give a specific example. So I am working on some things in the background with Prioritize Me so that um, legally I can have it on a larger stage. And one of the things I'm working on is my trademark. And this is not my first go around with getting a trademark. And so when you're getting a trademark, a lot of times it can go through real easy. Nobody opposes it. Boom, you got it. It's yours. Well, right now I'm in what you want to call it, litigation, if you will, with my trademark. And the person opposed it because she wanted us to coexist. Well, the purpose of getting the trademark is because I know what I'm going to do and what I've been working on in the background to do. And to get a trademark is so that as it grows, when we're crossing paths in commerce, mine will be mine, yours will be yours. And if there is a problem, I have a leg to stand on. So I'm saying that to say this particular person wants us to coexist. Well, the purpose of the trademark is to protect my mark and to protect my brand. If I coexist with you, it takes all of that away from me. It takes away my buying power. It takes away the fact that I know what I have going on in the back end for Prioritize Me. Why would I give that up? Why would I let you have that?
Right.
So in saying that, we're going back and forth. So we're in the discovery phase, if you will. And we've been sending documents back and forth, right? We have what we call like the discovery responses, where it's like requests for admissions, it's interrogatories, requests for production of the places where you've used it. So when we talk about a boundary, I want to read this particular interrogatory. I'm just show real fast so you can see that I'm reading from something. This is the interrogatory. This is the number. I'm not even going to say what number it is, but I'm going to read it to you. It says, identify all persons, including but not limited to any lawyer, paralegal, or legal document preparer who provided information, documents, research, or assistance to applicant in preparing for applicant's answer and amended answer to the notice of opposition, applicant's responses to the opposer's first and second set of interrogatories to applicant, opposer's first and second set of requests for admissions to applicant, and opposer's first and second document production request to applicant, or in preparing applicant's discovery request to opposer. Why that is important? I am showing up for myself as an applicant pro se. Pro se means I am acting on behalf of myself, where there is no attorney. I don't have one. I didn't I didn't retain one because I felt like this is my brand. I've been doing it for years. A lawyer is probably great to have and probably necessary. I'm not taking anything away from attorneys. I think they are absolutely wonderful. But in this situation, it's my brand. Who knows my brand better than me? Who knows how to market it or share it better than me? True. So in reading this, I'm like, is your client asking this question, or are you as an attorney asking this question because you want to know, is somebody helping me? I've already said I'm representing myself per se. It says Keisha Mason Campbell.
Who told you to know all this information?
Right.
How you get so smart? Who giving you the information? What lawyer is helping you? Because if not, me as a lawyer should be able to tell you about yourself.
Right. And that ain't cool. They have Google. The Trademark Trial and Appeals Board has a whole book where if you have any questions, and they also have a customer service number. I utilize my resources. So I don't have an attorney. I didn't retain one. So for him to ask that, right, I feel some type of way. Like, it's almost like how dare you check me and ask for those same things and be as detailed as you are with asking for the request for admissions, the interrogatories, request for documents. How dare you ask for those things? Why I can't? I'm smart. I'm educated. I got a few degrees under my belt. And even if I didn't, I can read and comprehend.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't have degrees under my belt, I can read and comprehend. So you're asking this almost like you're questioning me and what I'm doing. And just to me pull it back, because I don't want to show his name because we are in litigation, so I don't want to do that. Hold on. Can you see?
Yeah, the 26th of August, all that litigation. Uh-huh.
And then right above it, the interrogatory 20.
Interrogatory 29. 20.
Yeah. See, I just want you to see, like, I'm reading it off the paper. So I'm not creating a barrier because we can't let our emotions get involved because it's business. However, as much as you feel some type of way and you're questioning me about this, is that really part of the litigation for your client? Do your client really care how I am getting my information? Because Google is awesome. Okay. Microsoft Edge is just as good. Safari works just the same. The Trademark Trial and Appeals Board manual is awesome. And the customer service line for the Trademark Trial and Appeals Board.
Right.
I called so much that the guy, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? He was like, well, how can I help you today? That's how much I call. So I may not have retained an attorney, but that doesn't mean I'm not showing up defending myself and my brand.
Right.
I'm not acting on behalf of someone else. I'm taking care of Keisha. But now you're questioning me, how I'm showing up, and my integrity. Like you're questioning things that I'm like, wait a minute, what's the problem? If I am showing up in the way that's required, because we had to have a meeting with the intellectual attorney from the Trademark Trial and Appeals Board. And she basically said, hey, you either retain an attorney or you have the right to do it pro se. However, the Trademark Trial and Appeals Board does not show grace and mercy because you don't know and you're not an attorney. You don't have to tell me that twice. Telling me that the first time told me I got to be on my A game.
Right.
So if I'm doing something and I'm missing something or whatever, okay. I'm not saying it's great and it's acceptable, but what I am saying is I'm showing up for me because she's already set the precedence. She's already told me. So we can say that as a barrier or a boundary, however way we want to say it. Either way, the Trademark Trial and Appeals Board does not show grace and mercy just because you're not an attorney. You can represent yourself pro se, totally up to you. Everybody has that right. But they also have the tools and the resources for you to be able to represent yourself. You read and comprehend. If you got questions, Google. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you the answer, or it gives you another resource. And if you have questions on how to refine something, Google does that too. So when you have a person questioning you and who you are as if you can't show up for yourself, immediately barriers go up because now you're ready to check them.
True.
We got to set a boundary.
Yeah, you gotta leave it as a boundary, not a barrier.
That's
Even
right.
though it's so easy when you get frustrated and upset and, you've been, touched, it's easy to throw up a wall, a barrier so fast, and but you never end up growing past that hurt, frustration, or whatever. So putting the boundary of, you know what, I'm not even gonna go back and forth with them. I'm gonna stand in my peace, stand in my knowledge, and just show up for me and call it a day.
That part. But listen, if he really want to know the truth, who's been teaching me, it's him. Because I read all his stuff over and over, and I'm thoroughly writing down questions, and then I'll go back and reread something he's read, and I'm able to answer my questions. So truth be told, if he really want to know, lawyer, attorney, however way you want to be addressed, you're the one teaching me. And I thank you.
Because all that information that you're trying to get from me and throw at me, I need that same energy. I need that same information right on from you.
Yep.
And let's compare.
That part. And so, I mean, I could absolutely say that. Would that be okay? He'd probably be hot with me. But I am. I wait for you to play your card first because you are opposing me, right? Because you are opposing me, you have to do all these things, right? Yes, I am required to show up just the same. However, you are opposing me. You have the problem. You want my brand. You want me to coexist. You want me to share. You need this. You want this. I did mine first. Right? And now you're coming for me and you want to share. But how do we coexist in a world where I am building my brand? Why would I give you that? Why would I give you that? Why would I give you that power and just take it away from me and take away from my buying power and take away from the business that I have built and then the things that we got going on in the back end that we really, we're making happen. But once the trademark has completed, then we can really go full-fledged. Because ideally, the trademark should have been completed like around February, March of this year, right? It should have been done. But here you go. So now I have to put some things on hold, not all things, because it's still building, it's still sitting there, and it's still available. However, what I want to do with it, I absolutely want to have my trademark completed. And so that's a barrier. She has created a barrier for me. I'm trying to turn that barrier into a boundary so that we can get past that. So the emotions not there, feeling like, oh, you should have, could have, would have. It's not about that. It's all about business. It's all about showing up, being professional, and letting you know it's not ideal for me to do that with you because that takes away from my brand. That takes away from my product. That takes away from my services. That takes away from what I am offering to the people.
Mm-hmm.
And so why would I give you my business? Because one of the questions asks, do I feel like, no, do I think, no emotions. Do I think that, how was it worded? Do I think we can, it didn't say coexist. It was they used the different terms to mean the same thing. Like it's been a battle. And that's why I thank her attorney, because he has really been teaching me, because I read his stuff thoroughly, highlight, print it all, and go through and make my notes, so that when I need to respond and do all the things, I take my head off to him. Thank you for what you've done, because I absolutely use what you've given and give it right back. And because you are the opposer, you've got to show up.
Right.
Otherwise, you can just withdraw.
Right.
That would be ideal for me, is for you to just withdraw and just bow out gracefully, and let's be done. I mean, honestly, this particular person has had some items trademarked before, and she just let them go. So I did put that in there too. Like, I've done my research. I'm researching. So as they're trying to question me and who's helping, it's me. I can read. I can comprehend. I can understand.
You sure?
Right. And that's what he's questioning. But I thank you for all the things that you provided, because I absolutely use what you provided to help me, catapult into this space that I'm unfamiliar with, to make sure that I can show up and be present and let you know that I'm here, and that we can't just give our brand away. I wouldn't expect her to do it. If the tables was turned, I wouldn't expect her to do that, because that's her brand. Now, you've had brands similar to it where you had the trademarks, but you let them go. You let them go. So in this space and in this place, I believe for her, it's time to move on and let that go. Now, can I tell her that? No, because I don't talk to her directly. I can't talk to her directly unless, well, I can. I chose not to. Because I am representing myself, I chose not to do that, because I don't feel like that's a safe space. Right. I don't feel like that's a safe space for me at all. I feel like, and taking emotions out and leaving business and just all business, if I were to have conversations with her, between her and her attorney, they would try to double talk and double team and manipulate the situation, and anything that's not documented didn't happen. So
right,
we can't do that. I prefer documentation on everything, so that way, if I need to go back and look at something, I can. If you need to go back and look at something, you can. If we need to refer to anything, we both have it, and that works best for me as an individual who's representing herself. And so,
and that's a boundary that you set up to protect yourself.
Yes, because if I don't, they will take it all. They will take it all. And how fair is that? That is not fair at all. Oh, yes. Hold on. Where are we at? There we go. And in a minute, we have the the trademark logo right here instead of my initials. And just a little while, I don't know how long it's going to take. If we go through litigation for the time that the Trademark Trial and Appeals Board has set forth, we'll be going through this until November 2026.
Lord, that's a long time.
It is. And, I hope that she just withdraws. She just pull out and just let go. But I feel like, and this is a feeling, right? Not professional, but this is a feeling that because she has an attorney, they feel like that, oh, she represented herself, we can just railroad her, we can just do all the things. No, I can read and comprehend too. And I may not know all the things, because guess what? I'm not an attorney. However, I can read, I can comprehend. I know when you say certain things and when you tell me certain things, I need to adhere to that, because that's part of the policy and procedures. I'm showing up.
All right.
You won't get my brand without a fight. You will not.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
So that's just a little something. Once this hurdle is over, I plan on doing a series talking about trademark and trademarking your products. I have another trademark. That one was smooth, right? That one was so, and I did that one also myself. I did not have an attorney. I did that one myself. That was so smooth. I was like, oh my gosh. When I got ready to do it again, I just knew this one was going to be smooth too.
You'll never, but you don't grow through the smoothness.
No.
All of this trial, tribulation, back and forth, litigation, it helps you grow into a smarter, better person. And if you decide you want another trademark, you're way more prepared.
Yes.
Than if everything would have continued to go smooth.
I agree. And that's why I'm not emotional. I'm not angry. I'm not mad. I'm not all those things. I'm not any of those things. Right. I do get a little frustrated at times, but that comes with the territory, right? There's no growth without some kind of barrier there. And then we turn that barrier into a boundary, and then we're able to help the next person to be able to do the same. So that's where I see this. This right here is a bump in the road. It's a little barrier that I got to, get past. But I see and I believe that that's going to happen, and that I'm going to come over on the other side, and it's going to be successful. It's my brand. It's my brand. And so sharing just isn't an option. It takes away my buying power if I share. It takes too much away. And I just can't see doing that. It doesn't make sense to me. Right. Not about emotions, feelings, and this and that. It does not make sense to me to give you my brand, part of my brand, a portion of it. Why would I do that? Why build it if I'm just going to give it away? That doesn't make sense.
All right.
So yeah, so that's where we are with that. So yeah, once it's done, I'm going to do a whole series just talking about that. And hopefully it'll help somebody else who is in the process of building their brand, and they've gotten to the point where, listen, I got a product that I know I'm doing all these things in the background, but before I put it all out, like all of it out, like you do a little bit here, you do a little bit there, you testing the waters, you're making sure everything is good. So when you put it out live, you got all your ducks in a row. Nobody is coming for you because you have it. It's yours. So that's my goal. You don't get a trademark on the premise of giving everything away. You get the trade, and you don't get a trademark on the premise of today we don't overlap. To get the trademark is for future situations, future protections. And that's what I'm here for. And that's what I'm doing. It's for the future. All the things that I got planned, all the things that I've been doing, all the things that I want to put on a larger scale of commerce outside of, Virginia. I want to take it outside of, I've already taken it outside of Virginia, but on the larger scale and the things that we got working on, licensing and things like that, to take it outside of Virginia, outside of what we do with the workshops, outside of what we do with the events, outside of what we do with the virtual events, outside of selling our books and our workbooks. There's more that we have going on in the back end. And I just can't give it away.
Understandable.
Absolutely. And I don't know if we've been up here for almost 55 minutes. This has always been awesome. We always have a great time. April and I, we have did a whole month of August. This entire month of August, we did these series. Week 1, again, was identifying healthy boundaries. Week 2 is creating a healthy boundary. Week 3 is maintaining healthy boundaries. And week 4, which is today, barriers or boundaries or barriers. Which one do you have? Which one? I'm sorry, is that my guys? I got the feedback. You hear me a couple of times?
Yes, I heard the feedback.
Okay, well, if anybody that's on the call, on the live, I apologize. Hopefully on the replay, it's not, so much, but if so, I apologize about the feedback. But boundaries or barriers, when it comes to prioritizing yourself, if you have a barrier in place, turn that barrier into a boundary, which allows you to show up for yourself and others out of love and kindness. Do not let that barrier become a barrier where you can't get past it and it becomes like a cinder block, as April was saying, and you can't get rid of it. We know if it's a temporary situation, it's like drywall. You can put it up, take it down, put it up, take it down, which is what a boundary is. You can set the boundary, you can take the boundary down. You can set the boundary, you can take the boundary down. With the barriers, you want to be able to move through the barriers and set up boundaries. Miss April, would you like to say anything before we take it out?
When thinking about boundaries, decide if you're going to be the villain or the hero in your own story. Think about that, and that will lead you to create whatever story, boundary that you need. And focus on that.
And focus on what? I'm sorry.
And focus on that. Focus on being the hero in your story and creating the perfect story. Not even the perfect story, the story that you want.
I love that. I love that. So pick and choose. Are you going to be the villain or are you going to be the hero in your story? Think about that as we close out tonight. Think about, are you going to be the villain or are you going to be the hero in your story? Are you going to show up for yourself? Are you going to turn those barriers into boundaries, or are you going to let those barriers continue to hinder you from being able to grow and be able to do more and be able to show up for yourself and show up for others? Because we always want to make sure that our cup is full. And if it's not full, we'll take at least half full. Making sure that your cup is half full at least will allow you to be able to pour into others and show up out of love and kindness, as opposed to having an empty cup and having nothing to give, right? When you have nothing to give, that's one of the most unhealthy places you can be in, where you need to find a place where it's comfortable for you and replenish your cup. For me, mine is the beach. I love the beach. The beach will help me replenish myself on any day. So you have to find that safe space that allows you to do just that. April, do you have a safe space?
My K-dramas and T-dramas and stuff, my K-pop, all of that just kind of, I absorb that and then I can focus. That's my safety net. That's my go back to that I found.
See, and just find yours. It can absolutely be a show. It can be a place. It can be anything you want it to be, but make sure it's something that allows you to have peace and be able to refill your cup, even if it's just half full. So you can find Miss April on all of her platforms. Miss April, how can they find you?
You can look me up on all platforms under April Everett.
All right, all platforms, April Everett. So, Miss April, thank you so much. We have had a fabulous 4 weeks. So now it's time to pick another topic and set aside another month where we can go live every week in the Midweek Sip Chat as we talk to the people and helping them with learning how to prioritize themselves, learning how to set boundaries, and learning how to show up for themselves and replenish themselves and turn those barriers into boundaries so that they're not blocking themselves in or blocking themselves out.
Right.
All right. So everybody have a super fantastic night on purpose and everything that you do out of love and kindness. We'll talk soon.
Have a good one.
It's not your journey to take. It's not your journey to take. It's not your journey to take. Let's learn.